It would be bring Dave Thomas in. Sorry, Dave. I know you're waiting here, and you'd probably have some rebuttals to what we were talking about earlier. I am trying to get you a side hustle, a side job, and it might happen at the Royal Regina Golf Course. So this would be equivalent. But I was thinking just now, 96, right, when he was in his prime, very equivalent as if all of a sudden Mario Lemieux played against the Oilers tonight and Connor McDavid. Maybe not McDavid, but you know what I'm getting at. How do you see that this bout go down, Dave, the boxing expert that you are?
This is the first time in a long, long time that I've actually wanted to see a boxing match, because you go back to the 90s, right? And I don't know about you guys, if you ever ordered a pay-per-view. We didn't have the shekels to do that, so we'd go out to Fred and Tony's, and they had the big satellite dish that was only good for watching pay-per-views, Mom, just in case you're listening. But that was what we would do. So this is the first time in a long time, and I'm actually intrigued to see what's going to happen. I was going to say excited, but I don't think that's it.
The big satellite. We had it, and then you had to go outside and crank it, and then we upgraded. Dad, I think one of his ponies won one day, and so we got the mechanical shift, which was next level. And then we have it. It's funny, at Christmas time, the channels, it was like W5 was a big one, A1. F4 had a lot of sports. F4 had Comcast, so Dave Brown's parents would come over and watch him play in the basement. And people out there that had the big dishes, you remember, there was no commercials. So they would go to break, and these guys are like, I got to go take a whiz. I got to do whatever. And it was all like there. And then some of it was pretty racy. And then I forget what number was the one that that mama didn't know about. But it was wild. And then you could go buy that big thick book once a month. Okay, what's coming up? Do you remember any of this?
We were never a satellite crew, but I know I've had friends and at the farm and stuff had it, but yeah, you had to go every once in a while and adjust the coordinates. If it was too windy, you had to go reset it. And it
was good time. You see, still at the top of the Queensberry, they still have, from all the simulcast horse racing, they still have some of the mesh ones up there. Are you going to watch it, Dave?
Well, I have to attend an ice hockey game this evening with my son, but hopefully, as soon as the game's over, it'll be straight to Netflix.
I think they won't throw down until about, because there's an undercard.
There's a few. It's a busy card, and actually, there's a couple legit ones on there. The two gals that are fighting for the title, for their title, is. It should be actually a really good boxing match. I'm talking like I know. I just watched the Netflix special. That's the only reason I know. It's not like I'm some educated boxing person. I'm 3 hours smart on boxing. That's it. We should have sent you to Arlington tonight. Got you a media pass. Let's go live to RP standing at the. It's going to be awesome. Dave, let's get it. We'll get into Grey Cup in a bit. But you're a guy that's called a lot of university football in your day. We got the Mitchell Bowl here tomorrow, live on CKRM, live at Mosaic Stadium. What are you thinking here? You've crossed paths with Laval in your time, the big red machine from out there. Rams going in underdog, kind of on house money here. A little bit of a dangerous team too, though.
Well, you're right. Absolutely. When you play with nothing to lose, sometimes it's the best way to play, right? You got nothing to lose, no expectation. You just go out and do your thing. And that's exactly what the Regina Rams, I'm sure, are hanging their helmets on right now. And why wouldn't you? You've come up with being hot at the right time, executing at the right time, having the heart and the character in the dressing room to carry you to this point. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Rams come out with tomorrow. And I heard you guys talking about the crowd. Like, that's what intrigues me. How many of us are going to come out to cheer on the Rams? Because it's going to be a fun time at Mosaic Stadium. The other side, Laval Rouge et Or, they're the ones that, it's so funny because I'm trying to find some way to equate them to a hockey team like back in the day when the Rangers were spending so much money when there wasn't a salary cap. And the Rouge et Or have been painted as being a professional team in U Sports, right? Because, again, they do have a very large budget. They do have a very large fan base. And there's so many things that were rumored back in the day that, oh yeah, they fly their team down to Florida to practice in the winter, and
they bust.
Really?
They bust, actually. They took buses 25 hours. They bonded. They're not allowed to do that anymore, from what I understand.
Is that true, though? Come on.
I don't know why you would lie about it.
I'm not discrediting your source. I'm just saying there were so many things that were thrown out there back in the day, from how they would go ahead and they'd wreck the turf at other fields. And there was so many rumors that were out there because they were the big bad Laval Rouge, or they're just a darn good football team with a pretty good coaching staff with a heck of a recruiting mechanism that is going to come into Regina and look to put on a show. First time in Saskatchewan since they played in the Vanier Cup, when balls were exploding into the kicking net when they were trying to warm up punters on the sideline.
This is a crazy story. We can start rumors about them too. They're only here for 24 hours, so if they kill puppies and whatever, it doesn't matter. 2006 Vanier Cup is in Saskatoon. Huskies Laval. I said it earlier this week on the show. I didn't go. I had tickets. It was so cold, minus 30 something. Dave, you're there. Go through that story and what's Sukin in the net.
So Braden Sukin, who is now the special teams coach with the University of Saskatchewan Huskies, played in that game, and he recalls warming up on the sideline. And so he goes, and again, they got to get ready to punt, got to get ready to kick the ball. And it was so cold, he kicked the ball into the net, and he heard a huge pop as the ball exploded off of his foot because it was that cold. And he said he's never experienced it or seen anything worse or like it. He said it was like a rock in trying to kick it, and just poof, it exploded.
It'll be a little bit different, nicer weather. Let's shift to the Grey Cup and CFL. Okay, so last night, awards handed out. Roland Milligan Jr. No surprise there, right, Dave? We do have some audio here that came through. It is it's interesting. He talks about he listened to his wife and went to the award show.
I am. The West Final kind of got me, but I'm glad I did. I needed it, really, so I wasn't just home, just kind of sulking a little bit. But and it was good getting time, just me and her. Her not having to take care of all the kids while I'm away, and then just getting some us time right after the season. It was nice.
Okay, and then this one, and then I want you to chime in, Dave. But he talked about why Mace's defense was such a good fit for him.
But Coach Mace, he gives Coach Bell the freedom to be who he is as a coach. And he gives us the freedom to be who we are as players. And, he tries to unlock our strengths and elevate them even more. I've always been a ball guy. And he always, week to week tells me, you have to figure out how are you going to get the ball this week. There's going to be different opportunities. You can't miss those opportunities because they're hard to come by. So Coach Mace, Coach Bell, they push me a lot mentally to lead, and then just to be who I am. He challenges me every week. Just be who you are, lead these guys, and be yourself. Don't try to be other guys. Don't try to make somebody else's plays. Your plays going to come to you, and then also go find you some plays to make too.
In all honesty, Dave, let's go back to May, beginning of the year. Do you see, I guess if Luke is here, we could ask him, do you see this progression and where Roland is last night picking up that award?
Absolutely. From day one of camp, he came in, and one of the things that I think that he was challenged by his coaches was to be more vocal and more of a leader, because he sees the game at the next level, which is, in my eyes, what makes him really successful is his ability to decipher what's happening, and then he has the athleticism to back it up. So he's the complete package, and I would suggest that we haven't even seen the ceiling for Roland Milligan Jr. yet. He continues to progress and evolve every week, and the one thing was okay, he missed most of last year with that foot injury, and he talked a little bit about it. My favorite story was that he has a notebook where he wrote down his goals for the year. So he was telling everyone about how he went ahead and he wrote down that he was going to be the most outstanding defensive player of the year.
Yes. I wrote it down in my notebook before the season even started, that I wanted to be defensive player of the year. So it's always been a goal. I always felt like it was an obtainable goal. But you got to prove that, and I proved it.
Yeah, I think some people almost forgot about him last year, as Dave was alluding to, after his foot injury and him missing, the back half of the season there, that you forget just his impact that he had. And then coming into this year, he might have been a little bit not forgotten about, but just not as forefront as he would have been had he played all of last season. So I know, talking to some of the folks inside the walls there, that I know that they're absolutely over the moon with him as the type of player and person that he is in and around that team. So again, was it a shock? I don't know. You got to go out and put together 18 games, but his ability is very, very high, and I agree with Dave that his ceiling is probably even higher. He'll continue to grow year in and year out and within the league, and man, he's a dynamic, opportunistic player.
Let's play the last clip, Dave, and then I want you to chime in on this, because he talks about he's only the second defensive back to win the award, and he was asked, why do you see there's so few DBs on that trophy?
We naturally get disrespected. That's football, no matter what the level is or what league it is. DBs always get disrespected. So you got to go above and beyond to get awards. But we know the world we live in as defensive backs, and we don't really worry about it. Just come to work every day and just be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, it's surprising, and until the report comes out and the stories come out and stuff, Dave, like how few DBs have won this.
I know, it's incredible, right? You think about some of the real good ones, like Brandon Browner is a guy that jumps to my mind. You remember how dominant he was in the Canadian Football League, but there's been some real good ones. And the one part that we didn't get to there was and I think that this speaks to the person and the character that's building in the Riders locker room, was he talked about that goal of writing down that he wanted to be the most outstanding defensive player. That wasn't the only goal that he wrote down in that notebook. The other one that was ahead of that, win the Grey Cup. So to a man, that's kind of the philosophy that has grown within this group that's become the core of the Riders right now, is team first. The individual stuff is great afterwards.
Okay, let's get into the game. What are you going to be curious as you watch this? I know you guys are doing the pregame show here starting at 1:00 on Sunday. You've seen both of these teams quite a bit. What are you curious and intrigued with this matchup?
Well, we're going to have some great guests. First of all, of course, we're going to hear from Tanner Schmeckel, former Regina Ram, so he will join us, as will Patrick Neufeld prior to kickoff. They will, both Regina guys, Saskatchewan ties, we'll have them on the air with us as we count down towards kickoff. But the thing to watch, I think, that everybody's looking at, and such an interesting dynamic, is Nick Arbuckle at quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts. Of course, he'll come in place of Chad Kelly. Arbuckle was literally a month away from packing him in and saying that's it, because he didn't get signed in the offseason. Remember, it wasn't until Chad Kelly was suspended that the Argos actually signed him, and he's worked his way up to the number 2 spot on that depth chart. And if you're looking at the full circle moment, of course, you go back to 2007 when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had to dress their backup quarterback because their starter was injured in the East Final. It was, of course, Kevin Glenn that was injured, and who came in? Ryan Dinwiddie, now as head coach. So very interesting dynamic. Dinwiddie knows what Arbuckle's going through, and I'll be very curious to see if they can operate the offense at an efficiency level that's high enough to beat a very tough Winnipeg defense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, just Arbuckle's story on its own is an interesting dynamic in the game. And you talk about or think about going back to 2007 for the similar situation. And then having Dinwiddie involved in it is just a pure CFL type moment. And to be able to have him in your corner, like you say, Dave, to be able to help talk you through it and what goes into the preparation and even reflect back on, this is exactly how I was feeling and I can understand how you are, so here's how we can try to help you. And, attempt to to insulate him a little bit through the week, I'm sure will help, and especially over probably the next 24 hours to make sure that he's getting that preparation time in and making sure he's in the right headspace. But we can't forget too that in a one game showdown, Nick Arbuckle was the guy around the league, the free agent in 2018, 2019 type of time. So he has it in him. Can he pull one out of the fire here for one 60-minute contest and kind of get it going? But absolutely, if he gets on a roll and can get some momentum and their team starts going, they're there for a reason too. So
they're professional football players, right? Here's a question, Dave, and for me, just love the coaching aspect. I just love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, if we win the toss, you're Winnipeg. Are you taking the ball to now try and score and put pressure on? Because if they get down, like now you got major pressure on Arbuckle, or do you kick it and hope your defense sends a message early, turnover, score, right? Like, where would you land, Dave?
If I'm Winnipeg and I win the toss, I'm deferring all day. I'm going to defer to the second half and hope that Toronto takes the football because I want my defense out on the field first. You know that wind isn't going to matter inside the Dome Stadium, but I want to have that football to start the second half to do the old 2-for-1, right? Where you get a possession at the end of the half and then you start with the ball. Because the stat that's jumped off the page at me is that 4 of the last 6 Grey Cup winners have actually trailed at halftime. So making the adjustment at half times is really critical in the Grey Cup game. And if Toronto can find a way to linger and stay around and stay close long enough, they got a legit shot. But if I'm Winnipeg, I want to put my defense out there, stop that Toronto Argonaut offense where they're in their tracks, and then take control early in the third quarter.
All right, buddy. Going to be a good watch. We'll be listening starting at 1 p.m. Is it 1 p.m.? Starting on Sunday, 1 p.m. Like you said, you got your guest. And then we have kickoff here, CKRM at 5 o'clock. Okay, have fun at ice hockey. And then I'm that fight ain't going to go down until about 9:30, I bet. So then pour yourself a cocktail, and then we'll regroup on Monday.
Sounds good. And it sounds like RP's fully into wiring up that free cable. So, hey, I don't need your help for the satellite. I have that from the 90s. But if you got it figured out, let me know.
I don't have it figured out.
Hopefully you get Super Channel.
Yeah.
Remember, everyone wanted Super Channel as a kid. We're going to talk to the brand new mayor of Regina when we come back. It is the all-new Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com.